Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the testing talk, whatever we're calling them, day 3 from the final test in Bahrain, the final day of the first test in Bahrain. I don't know what we're calling these. Next week it's testing live. This week we're here for the final hour and a bit more, and that's it. But I don't know. Hope you're all doing very well after that incredibly smooth start to a live stream. I've got to say, well done, Sean. Well done, Sean. 10 points. It just gets worse. Hope you're having a good Friday. Happy Friday. I've seen in chat a few times, so we'll be going with happy Friday. No word from John. I will let you know, but he might turn up later. But the minute it's just me. But don't worry, there's plenty to talk about. In a minute, I'm going to go through the morning times for you, let you know any talking points from the morning session. We'll also have a chat about Max Verstappen's comments from Lando, Norris. There's some stuff from Ted's notebook that was interesting yesterday. Lots to talk about and more. I've got a question for you all as well. So we'll see how we go. So lots to get into. We'll do some shout-outs while people are still arriving. Please do share the stream, etc. As usual, that'd be greatly appreciated. And drop a like nice and early too, and get subscribed if you're new. Don't forget we are live all the way through this final hour and beyond. And then next week we're live all day, 7 a.m. until 4 p.m. GMT, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday for the final official proper actual test. Hey to Professional Morons, says happy Friday everyone. Checo for the title. Hey Pascal, doing very well, thank you mate. Hope you are too. Same to you, RC. I'm having a good one, mate. Hope you are a bit annoying. There's no Premier League this weekend and no football for Man United, but I guess that's what happens when you get knocked out the FA Cup in the third round. Hey, Jonathan. Hope you're okay. I won't do the accent. I thought about it, but I won't. Hey to Michael, to Warner's End as well, to Illogical. Hey to Valentine. Says, so Max is leaving F1. Wink. Well, I even winked. We'll get into that a little bit later. I'm going to have to turn Ted down a minute. He's doing me head in. Quiet, Ted. Hey to Max, hope you well, mates. Hey to Storky, hello to MSC Biles. Hey to Britain again. Hey to Matthew, says just caught up on yesterday's stream. I also found out Alonso took part in Dakar 2020, so he has also raced Carlos Sainz Senior. Wow, he's raced everybody as Fernando. Hey to Stewie as well, and I think I said hello to Valentine, but I'll say it again. There we go. Let's run through the morning times then. The morning, slightly more eventful than the afternoon, but to be honest, not the most dramatic of days. But George Russell did top the morning session with a 1:33.918. That was on the C3 tyre, 78 laps for him. He's made way for Kimi and Antonelli this afternoon. Lewis Hamilton, he's in all day, 69 laps this morning, about 3/10 off the fastest time by George Russell. Max Verstappen, he's got out the car now. He's let Isack Hadjar have a go, 61 laps for him, 1.4 off the pace. Ollie Bearman was 4th this morning, 2 seconds off the pace, 70 laps on the board. He is in all day. No, he isn't. Ocon's replacing. Sorry, I'm wrong. It's Oscar Piastri that's in all day. 73 laps, 2.4 seconds off the pace. Franco Colapinto, best part of 3 seconds back, 64 laps. Carlos Sainz, 68 laps for him, 3.2 off the pace. Albon is in for him. Colapinto, by the way, in all day, as is Liam Lawson. 3.3 seconds off for him, 84 laps. Gabriel Bortoletto, Hulkenberg is in for him this afternoon, 3.6 seconds off the pace and 60 laps. 54 laps for Lance Stroll. He's in all day, 4.5 seconds off the pace, which is where he said they were yesterday, so there you go. And Valtteri Bottas, he's been replaced by Sergio Perez this afternoon. 4.8 seconds on the pace for him, 37 laps on the board. But quite a bit has changed since that was all shared over on socials. Kimi Antonelli now tops the session, 1:33.669, 2.5 tenths quicker than George Russell. Oscar Piastri has jumped up a little bit, I think, in there on a 1:34.5. Isack Hadjar, 1:35.7. Ocon's up there on a 1:36.2. If he'd done a 1:26, then champions confirmed. Liam Lawson up there, 1:36.8. He was already well up there anyway. And Hulkenberg, 1:36.8 as well. But top of the lap charts today at the moment, Oscar Piastri, 123. He's in all day, of course, but that is... That's a hefty lot of laps. So we've still got an hour and 21 minutes to go. Of course, the session will start being broadcast on TV and F1 TV in about 21 minutes. Just a usual reminder, of course, no on-track footage for what I think, and I'm sure many of you agree, are completely obvious copyright reasons. So we've just got the live timing by Multiviewer for F1. Thank you very much to those guys. Link in the description if you'd like to download the app. It is free to download to customize your viewing experience with as much or as little data as you'd like, but you do need an F1 TV subscription of some sort. The cheapest F1 TV access is absolutely fine. Thank you again to those guys for providing the live timing this week and indeed next week as well, and throughout the season for the quali watch-alongs which should be quite a bit of fun. So again, thank you to those guys. Really appreciate it. Also, if you were here yesterday, I've got a board. I have written overtake mode, boost mode, and straight mode, what they all mean and why, so that I have something to reference throughout these testing streams and throughout qualify, so I don't get in a muddle, because I was really annoyed yesterday that I thought I'd mastered it and I hadn't. So the Bottas comments I was talking about yesterday about the boost mode being sort of automated almost, it is automated in the sense that it'll either go to maximum PU settings or to a team configuration. So I have a board now, so I can hopefully not lose my rack like I did yesterday completely unnecessarily. Yeah, it was a frustrating moment, let's put it that way. But just to let you know as well, we have got... who have we got out on track? Perez, Antonelli, Hamilton, Piastri, and is that Hadjar behind Hamilton on track? There's a blue car there, and I can't work out who it is. So as soon as I can see, I'll let you know. But yes, yeah, don't ask me about boost, etc. I'll only get it wrong. But I have a board now, so we should be fine. I think I get it all. I just got mixed up between the straight mode and the boost mode and what was doing what, but we did get there. Boost mode is basically old style KERS, but updated. There you go. Hey Annette, I hope you're well, having a good one. Oh, right, what do I want to talk about? Should we start with, I think, the big bullet points from the morning session we'll start with, and then what's happened in the afternoon, then we'll move on to a bit of fluff, what we can do or what we want to talk about later. So George Russell did top that morning session, like I say, C3 tyre, 78 laps. One red flag, and that was for Bottas's Cadillac stopping on track. We seem to have had quite a lot of stoppages from Cadillac. I haven't got the number in front of me, but I seem to feel for pretty much every stream we've done this week, either I've told you there was a red flag in the morning or we had a red flag in the afternoon from one of the Cadillacs. So little bit concerning, but as we always say, it's better to have those problems now than say Australia or China or whatever. So a little bit worrying, but he did get going in later in the session, so clearly not a major issue, but just keep an eye on Cadillac. I think there's going to be a lot of teething problems early on for them, and probably we may turn up to Australia with them somewhere down the back, but hopefully they can progress from there. It's a long-term project, isn't it? You're not going to get Cadillac turning up and dominating F1. I mean, I'm glad they came in with a lot more of a realistic expectation than say BAR did in 1999 when they were talking about all sorts of, you know, potential. It was Hadjar, by the way, behind Hamilton. All sorts of potential podiums and whatnot, and yeah, it didn't happen. We did seem to see some drivers pushing a little bit more this morning, but not obviously near to flat out. None of them will be. So that was encouraging. So hopefully we'll get that towards the back end of next week as well, and maybe some surprise times, some headline grabbing times. But other than the red flag and a few wide moments and slides from drivers, Bortoletto and Lawson, I think at the final corner, it was a relatively quiet but productive morning for teams. So that was good. And apart from that red flag, not much happened. This afternoon, Lawson had a spin, but just flat spotted his tyres. No real damage done. He continued. How many laps has he done so far already? I'll have a look, actually. I did have it open. He's done quite a few, I think, as Liam Lawson. 119 so far for the day, so it's not hampered him too much. And Kimi Antonelli didn't get out on track this afternoon until 4:30 local time, so that's around 90 minutes into the afternoon session. No word yet on what was going on there, but whether that's part of a programme or whatever. Antonelli not had the best luck this week, has he, with potential reliability issues, etc., etc. So hopefully he can get the laps in. At the moment, he is circulating nicely, so hopefully all good there. Yeah, Stewie says Caddy's red flag yesterday wasn't a big problem, fixed it quite quickly, to be fair. That seems to be what's happening. There's something, I mean, it could be sensors, actually. I mean, they're not really saying a lot, Cadillac, but you wouldn't, would you? But they seem to have a lot of stoppages, but it's not, for the most part, it's not massively hampering their programs. They're still getting lots and lots of laps on the board and whatnot, so it's not like they're having to change engines every day or something like that. So I am Flying Tiger is me, says Britain. Okay, so I'm only getting ats, you see, again. YouTube does this. One week it'll be at and the next week it'll just be your name. So sorry, I'll call you by your ats. It's just easy for me, and I'll try and remember who's who. Like, for example, I know Needles is Neelish, so that's why we do that. So it's just the easiest way. We'll take you, I think what we'll probably do today is we'll go through these talking points. I'll let you know what's going on track as and when it happens, and when we get to the 3 o'clock final hour, let's say, and we could do a bit of watch along then. But I think I'm going to take a lot of your questions today. But I have got what we've got to talk about. So we've got some comments from Russell, Pierre, Vacher, Max Verstappen, Lando, Norris to talk about. I've also got a question for you, a note and a bit of gossip from the paddock, which you may have heard about, some interesting bullet points from Ted's notebook, and I've put the Ferrari front wing on the doodle board, so we'll head on over there and have a look at that one as well. So I wanted to have a look at the front wing because I have bought their I guess B-spec front wing to this test. So the super quick talking points, I guess. George Russell said that this week has been a reality check for Mercedes, given their issues in Bahrain, but still believes they have a good car. There are some minor, I think he called them, upgrades or updates coming next week for Mercedes. So keep an eye on that. So a little bit concerning there for George Russell. Reality check. I think a lot of teams get reality checks in testing, don't they? They sort of, maybe the shakedown is one thing that's quite smooth for Mercedes, and, you know, over the winter you'll go, oh, this car looks great, and then you get it against other cars, and suddenly you go, oh, maybe not so good. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye on Mercedes there. But Pierre Vacher, interesting comments. So says that Red Bull plans to have a Race 1 aero package on the car next week, so keep an eye out for that one. But also claims, and I'm going to say claims, I need a little pot of salt here as we take a pinch of salt. Also claims Ferrari, Mercedes and McLaren are ahead of Red Bull and, quote, we are certainly not the benchmark. Now, if I had the fastest car, I'd say the same. If all my rivals were saying I had the fastest car, I'd say the same. So you can't take that completely seriously, but just thought it was worth pointing out what's been said there by Pierre Vacher. I don't have a lot to add. It just... I'd love to sit and analyse that perfectly for you and tell you exactly what he's getting at there, but I think we all know that's just part of pre-season testing and, you know, first few practice sessions at the first race of the season kind of talk, isn't it? The play down our opportunity, our chances and such. So, yeah, interesting. Hey, John T, how was the dentist, mate? Was it all okay? He's in chat, so don't worry. If you don't want to join the stream, that's absolutely fine. If you want to come in a bit later, that's fine as well. I've got quite a lot to get through before we get to waffling anyway, but I'm quite happy to just chat with you. But you are more than welcome to join if you're feeling up to it. I'm guessing just to clean. Rather than pulling all your teeth out like I pull out all my hair. He's already waiting, so I'll get through the points I want to, then we'll pull John T, because I'm sure he'll have something to say on Max Verstappen as well, but we'll get these out of the way. So I'm not ignoring you, mate, just want to get through these bits quickly. Reality check is, oh my god, we are so fast. That sandbag says corner Wookie. And Kai procrastinates as well. Hello, Formula Sean, you sound familiar. Where have I heard you before? Wink. yeah, I've got a twin. They call him the F1 Ward or something. Yeah, I will actually ask. You've reminded me. I don't want to go about too much. I've gone about a lot the last couple of days. But if you have popped over from the F1 word over the last couple of days, and you're like, "What on earth is going on?" Do you want a video over there explaining what's going on and what's coming, or are you happy for me to just turn up for Australia and go hi like nothing ever happened? Because I've done an explanation video over here that not everyone's seen who's on the F1 word, and I've found out in the last sort of 48 hours that apparently more people didn't know than did know. So let me know in chat, or let me know in the comments later if you'd like me to do one, and I might put one out at the start of next week. It'll fundamentally be the same as what I said on this channel, but from the F1 word point of view, which is, and ultimately will be, see you in Australia. But I know some people might want to know more, some might not care, so let me know. I'd appreciate that. I don't mind either way, honestly. It's no hassle. I'm only streaming for 24 hours next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 8 hours a day, so you know, I could squeeze a quick video out like that. So yeah, right, let's do, and then I'm going to come to the Max Verstappen stuff in a minute and the Lando Norris stuff in just a second. So the little bit of gossip that I saw on social media this morning, a little bit of chit chat in the paddock. that Adrian Newey has actually gone too extreme with his packaging for this year's Aston Martin, the AMR 26, and that has given Honda not much margin for error to accommodate to accommodate his aggressive design and kind of get that engine packaged nicely in there. So Honda have been given a bit like actually very similar to Red Bull time, actually, not a lot of room to maneuver their engine. They've got to fit within his tight parameters, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say, and that's why maybe Aston Martin are where they are. That then adds on to what Ted Kravitz was saying in his notebook yesterday, which is that they're expecting a tough start to the season, Aston Martin, and there's potential for what he said was at least one car to be eliminated in Q1. I think you could give Lance Stroll the fastest car on the grid and he'd probably still be not tight in Q1 because he just doesn't do Saturdays, does Lance, does he? Certainly not qualify. I've said that for years. That's not a dig. Saturdays is his weak spot. We know that. So there is a potential they're going to be somewhere towards the back end initially in the season. So, and I sort of read that gossip. I listened to what Ted had to say and I thought, initially, I was like, wow, that's a shock. And then you sort of think back, no, that's very Adrian Newey. It's one of the complaints that Renault used to have, wasn't it? That they didn't have the room to manoeuvre, and Adrian Newey wanted things packaged in such a specific way that it left them having to make compromises. And maybe that's what's happened again with Honda. Plus, Honda generally at the start of new regulations don't tend to do particularly well. So I suspect it'll go one of two ways. They'll start at the start of the season, ramp up development through the year. They'll either twist and go with a whole new design or refine what they've got and nail it, or it's just going to be a disaster and they have to start again. So I have faith in Adrian Newey, though. Other points from Ted's notebook, well worth mentioning, and I'm very happy to hear this one, even though I'm back in the Mercedes shirt today, because my God, is this comfortable. It's £100 for one of these. But I tell you what, it's so comfortable, it's ridiculous. It's almost not worth the money. Tyre wear looks good on the Ferrari at this stage of testing, so that's very good to hear, even though Bahrain is not representative of what we'll have in Australia or China or whatever. But it's good to hear that tyre wear is looking good on the Ferrari at this point anyway. Williams I'd wait for a deal, Max. If you go on Fuel for Fans, probably around Easter or maybe in the summer, there'll be a summer sale, you get it for half the price, but I can't wait. Williams apparently had a rear rain light system glitch, which will be fixed. It wasn't by design. Not sure what that was. Something to do with the flashing off at different times, on and off at different times. So, yeah. And Alpine had power unit data anomalies that need to be investigated on day 2. So that's why they were a little bit all over the place, like me yesterday. So they're the bullet points from Ted's notebook. I don't want to go and just quote everything he said, but I will pick out the bullet points. So good news for Ferrari potentially. But I'm not going to go as far as say this year is our year. Although I was interested that Pierre Vacher listed his rivals as Ferrari, Mercedes, and McLaren. So maybe he thinks Ferrari is he saying Ferrari are fastest or Ferrari are the next one for them? Are they the third fastest? You see, we'll find out soon enough. So, yeah, what he's saying in chat then, we'll do the doodle board in a bit, and we'll do the Verstappen and Norris comments after we've got started on the track action. I'll pull Jonty in a moment, but let's just see what you're saying in chat. Get some comments in. So, see what you're saying. So Annette says up to you on the video for the F1 word. RC says that considering you have a lot more subs on there, it would be probably best to do. I don't necessarily want to do it to bring subs over here, but I want people that are over there still waiting for content to know I've not disappeared. I'm just taking a break and getting this one off the ground. So Stewie said probably should. Storky said it's up to you. Catherine says worth doing it if it's the same message but it gets to more people. Yeah, I think I'd probably have to apologise, but I think it was just me being naive thinking that if I just said, hey, there's a video over here on this new channel I've got, come and watch this, it explains it all, I probably overestimated how many people actually read the community tab. Given that the last 2 days the same 6 people have liked the posts over there, I suggest it's not many. So yeah, we'll see. It's just when I went out on Twitter and said I'm live, we're testing, they were like, where's the F1 word, why is it not there? So and then people suddenly, we shot over 1,000 subs. I was like, oh, I see what I've done. I would do a video on the F1 word, says Pascal, and I think that was pretty much it. So I might do on the start of next week, or at least after testing, certainly before the season starts. But yeah, make it really clickbaity. I'll do one of those YouTuber things, like I'll do the whole Nico Rosberg explosions in the background. Is the F1 word over? You know, why not? We'll see how we go. It's not over. What were you saying in chat? Let's have a look about the Aston Martin stuff, if there is anything. Made the exact same mistakes as McLaren in 2015, says Moray. Yeah, that's a fair point as well. Not great on a Saturday, so Lance has more poles than Alonso since he came into the sport. Very true. Alonso's not had a pole. Lance has... when was Fernando's last pole? His last win was Spain, wasn't it? Valencia, I think, a long time ago. So when was his last pole? Good point. Ted seemed obsessed with the lights to indicate activation. I was going to mention this, actually, Stewie. So thank you for reminding me. I think it was Andy Cowell and Alex Albon looked at him like he'd just fallen out of their arse or something. I don't know. When he suggested that when drivers using boost mode, the hazard lights, as we're calling them on the wing mirrors, could flash to let everyone know at home. And I don't think that's that crazy an idea. Personally, we have the flashing light at the back to let teams know when another driver is harvesting, or let drivers know when they're harvesting. So why can't we have the flashing lights at the front on the wing mirrors to say, hey, I'm using boost mode? I thought Ted came up with a good idea, and then I saw the face on Andy Cowell and I was like, maybe that's stupid then. But then do teams want and drivers want others to know that easily that they're using boost mode? So I'm defending Ted on that one. I don't often defend Ted, but I am defending Ted on that one. So not a bad idea. Audi team merchandise was really nice, and it will go on sale on the 19th of February. Yeah, I like the Haas ones as well, Pascal. I quite like those. Hatpro says I am highly experienced in Sean Law. There you go. What did Michael say that you agree with? Haas looking like they are better the rest of this year, at least better than 2019. Yes, Ted also said that. He didn't say it. He theorized that they might be top of the midfield this year because they've started really, really well. Lot of laps from Haas over the last couple of days. So that's good. Colapinto, Piastri, Antonelli, Hamilton and Perez on track, by the way, at the moment. So, yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea, the flashing lights, but maybe, yeah. Maybe the teams just don't want to give that information away at all, but people will find ways. And he did mention, actually, Andy Cowell, it depends what, it's like something like, it depends what you guys get on TV, referring to Sky. So I do wonder if we're going to get some, because Formula E have like the battery charge, don't they? I think they probably are quite accurate now. There used to be a sort of estimate almost, or a rough, ish kind of, they have 92% ish. I wonder if we'll get a similar thing with F1. Two minds on that. I think we get a lot of information on screen in a race anyway. And they struggle to get that right consistently. Do we really need something else to indicate battery power? But at the same time, how else are we going to know? But then do we need to know? Is it, somebody said it yesterday, if the racing's good, who cares? So, yeah, we'll see. Let's go find... I've got to... Oh, God. Jonty, mate. If you're listening, I haven't even opened Discord. Do you know how bad I am today at this? And that's going to open on the wrong bloody screen, isn't it? So I have to drag it all the way out. Such an effort. Especially on Windows 11, where everything is just one more bloody click for some reason. Oh, I'm not impressed with it at all. I'm hoping... Oh, I need to... Hang on. I couldn't go any more northern if I tried it. Hang on, love, we'll get there. So I found, now I need to make sure I turn on my virtual camera. Also need to turn John T's sound on so that everyone can hear him. And hopefully, everything will work okay. Hi, John T.
Will it?
I can't hear John T. Oh, I know what. Hang on a minute, John T. Hang on a minute. Ignore me. 1 second. This is why... Hi, John T. I should be able to hear you now, hopefully.
Have your headphones been off the whole time?
Yeah, I plugged the TV in so I could listen to the noise in case you weren't here, and then I forgot to swap them over. So, yeah. Hi. John T's and I'm ignoring him. But, yeah, how are you, mate? How was the dentist?
Yeah, dentist was fine. Just hygienist, clean, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, that's all right then. Nothing,
it's fine. No pain.
I know you said a couple of weeks ago you were worried they might do an extraction or something. So,
No, I had an extraction.
Or you had an extraction, yeah. That was it, yes.
And that was really, really bad. We're through it now.
You're alive, and that's all that matters.
Yes.
Just in time as well, because cars are on track, and apparently my virtual camera isn't working over on Discord, so you might not see me, mate, I'm afraid. I'll try it again. We'll give it a restart, but yeah.
It's fine.
Hopefully it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But you can hear me, and that's the main thing. But yeah, cars just about to go on track. Oh, they're already on track. We're about to see them on track. There is Oscar Piastri in the McLaren, which again looks great under the lights. Always does that papaya in my view. And then we've got is that a Haas? This is where I'm going to struggle initially this year. Haas, Cadillac, Mercedes. There's quite a few that are quite similar from the front, aren't there, in terms of their colours from a distance. So they're just showing a replay of Valtteri Bottas stopping on track earlier today. So not the best for Valtteri Bottas, but he got going again. We're just saying, Johnson, I don't know if you heard us, but Cadillac, a lot of stoppages this week, but they seem to be sort of stopping on track, getting back to the pits, and then a few minutes later they're back out again. So concerning they're stopping quite so often, but at least they seem to be quite minor issues, which is a positive.
Yeah, it does seem just like teething troubles. It doesn't seem to be anything major. Although we hope it doesn't seem to be anything major, because it's not really that. They're not really doing runs for that long. If this isn't something they can get on top of, what's it going to do in the race?
Yeah, and
you do 10 laps and that's it.
I don't want to say it's not power unit related, but you look at the laps that Haas are doing, for example, with that Ferrari power unit and Ferrari. It must be some other electrical teething problem somewhere. But just actually, now I've mentioned Ferrari, just to say, apparently they are still using the same engine they used in Barcelona for the full 3 days, and apparently they might even use it again next week. So they're not using new power units much over these tests, and I assume that's because of the engine cost cap and whatnot. But really interesting. So just when you're watching Ferrari times next week, if they have got the same engine in, they're not going to be fully fit engines, are they? Or up to full power, because they've been using them for what?
Yeah, true.
Several hours, quite a few hours every day for 6 days of this test, and then 6 days of Bahrain testing, and then 3 days of the shakedown in Barcelona. So it might just be worth bearing that in mind. Other than cost, I can't think of any other reason to do that, to be honest. Or it's kind of sandbagging.
But also, it's interesting you mentioned the cost cap. I hadn't considered before. Has there been some kind of allowance for that with the extra test that happened? Yeah, the closed doors test, because I mean that's still quite a lot of mileage to put on their power units. And they're already running razor thin on their margins already.
That is a excellent question. That's one that maybe actually, I'll tell you what. I
don't know. I haven't. It's only just occurred to me.
Cost cap allocation higher ? Barcelona. What I'll do is after the stream, because I can't read it now, after the stream I'll go have a look, and then we'll have an answer for next week, unless somebody absolutely knows for sure in the chat, in which case let us know. But if not, I'll go and have a look at that over the weekend and see if there's something for next week, because that's a really good point, because of course it's a whole extra up to 3 days of running, isn't it? So you might need an extra unit. I mean, Mercedes had a full power unit change yesterday for Kimi Antonelli, so it's a very good question.
Yeah, one full power unit, I mean, there's what? Is it $1.5, $2, $3 million?
Yeah, they're not cheap, are they? I'd love to know what the comparable price is between modern day power units and when they were sticking a new engine in every weekend in the 90s. Were they like £3.50 back in the 90s in a bag of quavers or something like that by comparison?
They were still pretty expensive, but comparatively pennies. They really were.
Yeah. Was it Marin says that, seen on Twitter that Ferrari have been using the same engine. Hillbilly Reefer says that they have confirmed that which fuel they're using, last year's or the new fuel, ? That's another one I forgot to check, actually. Thank you, Hillbilly Reefer. I meant to check that yesterday, because I know in Barcelona they had the option, didn't they, to either run the new fuel or last year's fuel. Which Stuart and I were discussing and thought that what could be the benefit of that. But then I suppose you could do day one, you could run the new fuel, and day two run the old fuel, and then you've got a direct comparison, I suppose, is something that could benefit them. But you'd want to be running your new fuel. But so I'm not even sure who didn't run their new fuel last test, so 2 weeks ago. My assumption would be that even if they had the option to use old fuel this week and next week, they'd be using new fuel by now, because we're only 3 weeks away from the start of the season now. In fact, actually, I'm just going to double check. 3 weeks today is practice for Australia, so you don't want to be using your old fuel now, because what's the point? Unless you've run out of new fuel.
That's another element. Was the option there in Barcelona just so they could get both, to make sure that the new fuel actually works as intended in an on-track situation? I mean, they can test as much as they like in a lab and on a dyno, but until you actually get it out there, you're not going to get the real data, are you?
Yeah, you can get a complete direct comparison, can't you? Which could be valuable, actually, later in the season. But I did see Marta. Hey, Marta, hope you well. Says Williams with the Martin Lewis money saving trick of not going to Barcelona. I've also heard they've paid their credit cards off in full, so Martin Lewis will be happy. Why not? I'll tell you what we'll do then. So what we've got out on track at the minute, we've got Hadjar, Perez, Piastri, Colapinto, Antonelli, Hamilton, and Ocon. So 7 cars out there. Go on, Jonty.
I was going to say that could be a valid point. You know, if there isn't any concession made for the extra test, come the last 4 races of the season, suddenly Williams can stick a brand new engine in and no one else can, because they've got no money left.
I mean, somebody write that down and bear that in mind for later in the season. We'll have the conversation. We'll go live and say Jonty was right, and so will Williams again. But yeah, I was just going to say, Jonty, what we'll do while we've got cars circulating, and we'll keep an eye on them, obviously, but I take it, have you seen the comments from Max Verstappen and Lando Norris overnight?
Yes.
Yeah. I'll do my newsy bit then. I'll read them in full. Well, not in full, but, they're chunky quotes, but they need to be read. So Max Verstappen has described this new F1 era as anti-racing as opposed to uncle racing. And not a lot of fun. When asked for the first time about the new cars, he said, and I quote, to drive, they are not a lot of fun, to be honest. As a driver, the feeling is not very Formula One-like. It feels a bit more like Formula E on steroids, whatever that would look like. As a pure driver, I enjoy driving flat out, and at the moment, you cannot drive like that. There's a lot going on. A lot of what you do as a driver in terms of inputs has a massive effect on the energy side of things. For me, that's just not Formula One. He also said he accepts it was not maybe the nicest thing to say when you consider all the work that's gone into the engine by Red Bull, but he wants to be realistic. And when asked about how this could impact his future, because, journalism, bearing in mind he's always said he wants to stay around if he's having fun, he says, a winning car for me, that doesn't matter. It needs to be fun to drive as well. I think at this stage of my career, on the fun thing, I am, of course, also exploring other things outside of F1 to have fun at. I know that we're stuck with this regulation for quite a while, so yeah, let's see. And one final line from that long list of quotes from Max Verstappen that I think also rings true is, quote, if it was, I think, up to non-political aspects of making a regulation, I think the engine would have looked very different. I just want normal driving, just how it should be, without having to think, oh, I brake a bit longer or less or more, or one gear up or down, stuff like that, that is so heavily impacts the performance on the straights. The reason I just want to say I think this is absolutely true is, if you recall last year, there was a lot of talk about a sudden switch to V8s or V10s in the next sort of few years. And it clearly got political because F1 wanted to twerk for Audi and new manufacturers who are all going to disappear as soon as they've got what they want from the sport anyway. And that's why we ended up with whatever these are going to be. So I'm not going to sit here and say we won't see V8s or V10s with fully synthetic and sustainable fuels in the future, but at the moment, politically, that's not going to happen. So I have to say, and I won't read all of Norris's quotes now, I'll let Jonty come in a second, but I do agree with a lot of what Max has said there about it not being Formula One. But the funny thing is, I also agree with what Norris said in response. So I'll do that in a minute, Jonty. But on Max's quotes there, how do you read those? Do you agree, disagree? Do you think he's just being cheeky as ever? Or has he got a point?
He's got a point. He really does have a point, but I do think he's also just speaking his mind with the tiniest of filters, as he is wont to do. He does that a lot. But I think the things that other drivers have said have got merit as well. You know, there is a concern, obviously, and I'm in that camp. I think Formula One should be pushing the technical aspect. You know, it should be all about the technical innovation, but not at the cost of the speed in the racing. You know what I mean? You need to find that balance. And if it goes too much into the technological aspect and it loses the driving excellence, the raw driving talent, then it doesn't seem like there's much point.
Yeah, I agree, and I mean, sort of back to our point yesterday. If they have to do all this energy management in racing and the lifting and coasting and all that, that's part of it, and we just have to get over that. It's part of the strategy for the race. It's the lifting and coasting and qualifying that really kicks me in the nuts, because that's not that. Qualifying should be softest tyres, lowest fuel, engine at full power, and just bloody floor it. That's all it should be. There shouldn't be energy saving and where can I use my boost and where can I do that. No, that's not what qualifying is. So maybe that's something that could be looked at in the future, where the engines could be opened up a little bit more to just be able to be full power through qualifying. And then in the races go back to all this management stuff. But Lando Norris's response, and I'm going to have a little bit of a moan at the end as well about some other stuff, so bear with me, Jonty. I'm sorry. 3 hours later. Shut up, Sean. He said, they're a lot of fun and I really enjoy it. So yeah, if he wants to retire, he can retire. Formula One changes all the time. Sometimes it's a bit better to drive. Sometimes it's not as good to drive. We get paid a stupid amount of money to drive, so can't really complain at the end of the day. Any driver can go and find something else to do. It's not like he has to be here, or any driver has to be here. It's a challenge, but it's a good, fun challenge for the engineers, for the drivers. You have to drive it in a different way, understand and manage things differently, but I still get to drive cars and travel the world and have a lot of fun, so nothing to complain about. However, whilst I agree with the point he's making there, he did, as we just take a little trip back to Barcelona for a second, did say just a couple of weeks ago, quote, "It certainly feels more like an F2 car in some ways with how you have to drive it. I don't know if I like that or not for the time being." So something's happened in the last 2 weeks. It's changed Lando Norris's mind. My analysis of this is it's two mates taking shots at each other in the press and probably sat on WhatsApp laughing at us all reading too much into it. That's how I view it. But I will say, whilst we're discussing it because it's a bit of fun and it's pre-season and nothing else happens, it's certainly not something that I think is worth all the clickbait and whatnot out in the media. And contrary to what quite a few are saying, you know, this, I don't believe Max's was an outburst or a rant or moany or bitter, and I certainly don't think that the two drivers have locked horns, as one publication put it. I don't think that's happened. They were both asked a question, they both answered it, and they both answered it, and people really need to stop falling for this media bullshit. They are paid by the click and will do anything to get them. So when you see title rivals lock horns, or Max Verstappen in major outburst, or bitter Verstappen ranting, it's like, that's not what happened. He was asked a question, he answered it honestly. Lando Norris answered the question honestly. I'm not saying this would have happened, Jonty, but if Max has said he loved the cars, there's a possibility Lando would have said he hated them. I really do think those two often take little shots at each other in the media and genuinely sit on WhatsApp or whatever and then laugh at us all and slag us all off for being stupid. They're mates. It's what they do. We've seen it plenty of times. So I agree with Max's points, and I agree with Lando's points. If Max genuinely hates it and isn't having fun, go do something else. He would love racing and endurance racing. We know he would. Or sod it, go to IndyCar, mate. Have a laugh over there. But if he's, you know, I just don't. We're discussing it. because that's what we do, but
That's
that's what
what
this
he
channel
won't
is
do.
for. But I don't think it's really that big of a, they're not, it's not locking horns, which made me laugh when I read it. I was like, for God's sake, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I do not like the way some media outlets blow things up like that. It's like they asked for his opinion. He said his opinion, and they go, "Oh my God, he went on a rant." No, he didn't. He just told you what he thought. That's what you asked for. Don't complain when you get what you want. No, Dre Harrison made a great point about the different comments yesterday, because we'd also already had comments from Lewis, and Georgia said a few bits, and Alonso said a few bits. When you've got all of these best, the top F1 drivers in the world, all having a different opinion, it says we might be onto something for entertainment during the season.
Yeah.
Definitely a way to look at it, and I really agree with that way of looking at it. If they're all thinking something different, that could get things spicy.
Jonathan says the race coughed the race. I actually don't think the race did clickbait it. I think they just said Max made comments or whatever. I actually don't think they did. But the reason I've always been a bit annoyed by clickbait, and I've always tried my best to avoid it on content, even though it'd be the easy way to get views. I prefer to let the content do the talking rather than clickbaiting everything. But you have to remember now, and I'm not accusing anybody of anything, if anyone's listening, but you have to remember now, I've seen the inside of the F1 media now, so I know what goes on, so I know that, juicy comments, let's blow this out of proportion. And that's not just one publication, that is many publications. I think it was The Sun who referred to it as moany and bitter, and if you read The Sun, get a grip, please. Each to their own, or to each their own, but please, come on. Hold on, I just locked horns with my coffee cup, says Flying Tiger, who's changed your out there. Thank you. Norris still salty, isn't recognised as driver of the year last year by anyone, says Addy Boy. Most years, the world champion would be regarded driver of the year, but Max Verstappen was so unbelievably good last year that you couldn't give it to anybody else in F1. 2 points off the championship in that Red Bull was incredible, but Norris wasn't far off there. I think George Russell was great last year as well, actually. Valentine says Lando's comments feel like I'm just happy to be here. I like him, but it's not a racer mentality. Thank you very much, mate, as well, for a super chat from Valentine, who says I just feel for Lewis. He had the headlines with his Kardashian rumours. Max downs a Red Bull and starts slacking off the whole of FIA for FOM. There you go. Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate the support, but yeah, it's very Max, isn't it? But like Jonty said, he was asked a question, he answered it, and then everyone's going, he's always moaning. Oh, God, why don't you just quit? And you're like, because you asked him a question. But I feel like Max Verstappen's one of the, and there's a few others as well, that if they said, what day is it? And it was like today, what day is it? Friday. Oh, Max Verstappen takes swipe on Fridays or something like that. You're like, shut up. Fridays are great.
Although I do think that if it doesn't improve or look set to change for next year, I do think he could go, because he does genuinely love racing, the raw driving aspect of it. And if it's gone from here, I could see him going to WEC, going to IMSA. He's already said he wouldn't do IndyCar because it's too dangerous.
Got a kid now.
He would like to go at Aussie Supercars as well.
Yeah,
he'd love to race Bathurst.
Well,
which tomorrow, people, 12 hours of Bathurst tomorrow.
He's always said, hasn't he?
GT3 cars.
Consistently, he's always said, I'm not bothered about 7 world titles, 8 world titles. I only want to race in F1 if I'm having fun. If not, I'll go find something else to do. So if he hates it, I mean, he might get racing with these regulations. Few races down the line, go, actually, it's all right. I'm quite enjoying this, especially if he's winning every weekend. Then he certainly will be enjoying it. But Max Verstappen, if he retires, he won't retire from motorsport. He will be straight into something. I imagine straight away into endurance racing, probably for Le Mans next year and things like that. So I agree. If he really hates these regs and has a horrible season, doesn't enjoy it, he could go at the end of the year. Could you imagine? Right, sorry, chat. I know some of you hate this kind of thing, but could you just hyperbole for a second with me, right? End of this season, Hamilton, Alonso, Verstappen all leave the sport. that's going to leave F1 a hell of a lot poorer. Losing Verstappen, I don't care what anyone says. You don't have to like him, but if Max Verstappen left F1, the sport would be poorer without him. If we lost Alonso and Hamilton alongside him, good lord, who's watching anymore?
All three at once. That would be a loss.
It'd be huge.
3 seats open up.
Yeah.
And that many seats opening up all at once. I mean, would there be enough young drivers coming through programs to fill them? Would that open the doors for people from other series such as IndyCar, Supercars, Super Formula, WEC, whatever? Who knows?
Oscar Piastri DRSing Lance Stroll there, which not DRS. Oh, yeah, overtake moding, OMing. Lance Stroll doesn't sound right, does it?
To see how it go.
Sorry, I was noticing that on the live feed there.
Yeah, and sorry, I'm going to keep calling it DRS.
Yeah,
I don't care.
Well, it is a drag reduction system. It's still reducing drag.
Yeah, we went through this yesterday. That's literally what it is.
I don't agree with the J Hill who says only if Lewis leaves will the sport hurt. No, there are plenty of drivers that if they, well, I say plenty, 3 definitely, that if they went tomorrow, the sport would be poorer. Like I say, you don't have to like certain drivers, but be realistic. Where else are we going to get these clickbait quotes from if Max Verstappen leaves?
Yeah, just like look at the last decade or so. It felt like F1 had lost something when Alonso went the first time, when Vettel went, when Raikkonen went. It really did. It felt like sport lost something when K-Mag went, when Grosjean went. You could all have that individual character, even if they're not up at the front winning, even if they're fighting in the middle. You know, there are personalities and racing styles, driving styles that stand out and give the sport something to watch, gives you something to get engaged in.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
I didn't miss grumpy Alonso because he was clearly not happy and he needed a break, but you were definitely missing something, and anybody with a brain knows that, so it's okay.
But cheeky, play the games, use his wisdom and experience. Alonso, not long after he'd come back in the Alpine, doing, holding up so that Ocon can take the win, things like that. That was fantastic.
Great defending.
Really was.
Right on the line at times, but he knows where the line is.
Yeah,
so, and that's the advantage of experience, isn't it?
Yeah, and seeing someone like, the last lap of Suzuka, I think it was Alonso and Vettel.
Yes, over the line. Yeah.
But for the last few corners, they were fighting tooth and nail and right on the limit of what's acceptable. But because they're both super experienced and both know it, we got that fight. Great.
I'm pleased you mentioned K-Mag, by the way, because he is one of those personalities I think we miss. Because, Max Verstappen's asked a question, he gives an answer, quite honest. K-Mag would take honesty to a whole new level. I mean, look at the famous, you'll all know what I'm talking about, the famous moment between him and Nico Hulkenberg. Usually that's safe for being in the paddock somewhere, but he says it right in front of the mic. He doesn't care. I thought K-Mag was great, and K-Mag was a much quicker and better driver than I think his career statistics show. I know you can only, I guess, drive the car you've got. Debut. Yeah, podium on debut, super quick. I know the red flag helped with it, but was it the sprint pole or whatever we used to call them back then at Interlagos before the rain came? Perfect timing for his lap.
Fantastic.
Cracking driver was K-Mag. And I'd argue, certainly on a Formula One level, better than his dad. I don't know what his dad did. Yeah, Magnussen else. J-Mag. I don't know what J-Mag has done elsewhere. So
great in F1, but he was very good endurance racer.
Yeah.
And it's those moments that make the sport for me. It always has been. Those underdog moments out of nowhere where they've performed a bit of driving brilliance. They've snuck in a cheeky overtake out of nowhere. They've mastered the strategy, got the tyre change at the right time in dodgy conditions. Yeah, any little thing that can just lead someone to that special moment. That's what makes it great. And that's what's keeping me super interested even with all these potential issues with the power unit and the regs for this year, because I think there's a hell of a lot more scope for it.
We think back to Johnny Herbert at the Nürburgring. Rubens Barrichello's watching one part of the sky and he thinks he needs to change tyres, and Johnny Herbert's watching a different part and he doesn't think he does, and he wins the race. Damon Hill at Belgium 98 just kept his head. So all he had to do was keep his head and keep it on the black stuff, and he did. Won the race, 1-2. Yeah. Well, needed a bit of help on team orders, but...
Yeah. I mean, that was Button's super trick.
Yeah.
His first win, Hungary 2006. Also, Australia 2010. The most famous Canada 2011.
32 penalties and still won.
Although, everyone who hasn't been watching, Australia 2010 is a better race.
Australia 2010 is a great race. If you want to watch, I don't know, something to whet your appetite ahead of the new season, watch Australia 2010. Bonkers, but brilliant. Yeah.
And it was super good, especially after because that was the year that Bahrain opened with the endurance layout, which is one of the worst Formula One races I've ever seen in my life, because it was literally a procession.
You had to endure
even worse than Monaco is. It was ridiculous. And then we come back and everyone had been slating it. The media had destroyed F1 throughout all the press. Then we come back and get a mad race like that, and you've got Brundle in the commentary saying, "Oh, it's so boring, F1." Like, it's in a really sarcastic tone. It was great. But we're getting all back in the day now, aren't we? Sorry, I've been invaded again.
It's all right. I was just going to say I'll do a quick look at the times and that, and just keep an eye on watch TV for a second. But we've got the Ted Kravitz in the pit. I can't hear him because I've got Jonty on now, so I'm not having two things in my ear. I used to do it all the time. It used to drive me mad. But Isack Hadjar in the pit lane. The front wing and nose is off the Red Bull as they look at something. So, but he's done quite a few laps He's on 53 so far this afternoon, so maybe just tweaking something at the moment. On track, Perez, Antonelli, Hamilton, Albon, Hülkenberg, Colapinto, Stroll and Piastri. I think Stroll's just had a moment coming through the wonderful turn 9 and 10, and he's going to go into the runoff, is he? No? Okay, I don't know what I'm watching there, but I might have missed a little tiny lockup. But in terms of lap times, if you're just tuning in for a quick check of the times, Antonelli's still fastest, 1:33.669, 47 laps for him. Russell did 78 laps this morning. Hamilton, who's in all day, did 137 laps so far. Oscar Piastri has just gone through 152 laps for Piastri so far today. So he's just basically just circulated apart from when he stopped for a pot noodle at lunch or whatever. Max Verstappen, 61 laps for him. Isack Hadjar, 53 laps. Of course, Hadjar in for Verstappen this afternoon. Ocon, 68 laps. Colapinto, 136. Bearman, 70. Hülkenberg, 48. Albon, 70 as well. Lawson in all day, 119. 68 laps for Sainz. 60 for Bortoletto. 68 for Stroll. 37 for Bottas. And 62 for Sergio Perez. If you're wondering why I'm not reading the times, it's because at this stage of testing, at least, the most important thing is that lap count. But Antonelli, 33.669, just the 5.582 seconds separating the field. So let's hope that closes up a bit in Australia. I'm sure it will. But yeah, that is where we're at the moment. So please do drop a like on the stream, by the way. Would really appreciate that. It helps with the algorithm, and it also means I stop asking you once we get to 100. So would really appreciate that. Also Also, if you are new. We're live next week, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. Stuart with me, 8-ish till 12-ish. Jonty with me, 12-ish till 4-ish every day. So we've got the wheel of questions as well, which could be a lot of fun. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can do through Patreon and channel memberships. Links in the description for everything you need down there. And I might add another emoji. I think I had a 6th one now, so that's exciting. So we've got Stoffel, we've got a waffle, we've got a tyre, we've got something else. So I think we need another couple of emoji ideas there. So we'll sort that out at some point soon. But thank you for your continued support. Super chats as well, greatly appreciated. But I always try and come to chat for questions anyway. So no biggie if you don't want to. I'm terrible. I should be going, you must send a super chat, but as Jonty will tell you, I refuse to be one of those channels that just reads super chats, because that's not how you build a community, in my opinion. To each their own, though. Just my opinion.
Yeah, well, my opinion is a little bit different on that, because I say just use a PayPal link or coffee, because then Google isn't taking 30%.
That's true, yeah. There is a buy me a coffee thing in the description if you prefer to do that, but I don't get notifications for that, so I'd have to check it a few times. But so you might have to let me know in chat if you have done it. But there might be a way to. I wonder if you can integrate that into YouTube Live. I suppose there might be a way. I'll have a look at that, actually. Yeah, something else to do over the weekend, as well as take the dog for a haircut. So I'll be hated tomorrow afternoon. Basically, you make a jingle that says Wheel of Questions. I do need a jingle at some point for that, definitely, Stewie. And let's have a look.
Yeah, but if
there's a debate going on
if we manage to make a jingle, it's got to be something that's as bad and comical and cheesy as the one for Career Ladder.
Oh, it needs to be terrible. Yeah, it needs to be absolutely terrible. It's If you do your music, let me know. You might be able to come up with one.
Stuart would be better than that. Better at that from me.
I'll ask you if he played Dirty Air, but he'll probably just tell me no, because of the story that we've said before, and I'll say it now because it always makes me laugh. When he got a copyright claim on his song, and he had to release the song by himself for himself, which is quite funny. So it was, chamberception, basically. It was all very, very weird.
Yeah, we've had a couple of interesting things with the people who've appeared in these kind of streams. You got Stuart copyright claiming himself,
and then having to appeal to himself.
Yeah, Dan getting a copyright strike from FOM from the future.
Yes, I forgot about that. Yes.
Which was ridiculous, and it wasn't even footage; it was from the game. Absolutely insane.
Was it? It was, I can't remember the year, but it would be the equivalent this year of them claiming the 2026 British Grand Prix. It was something like that, wasn't it? Like, he'd put a lap of the thing out.
He'd just done a preview, and for his lap preview, he did a lap in the F1 game. And the video went out on the Tuesday, and he got a claim on the Wednesday saying that he'd used footage from practice sessions on Friday. No. Really, the Friday that hasn't happened yet? How does that work? I mean, frankly, F1 should have had all their ability to copyright claim stripped from them at that point, because it was proof that they're not actually checking. And it's all completely automated. They just see the words Formula 1, F1, whatever, and just automatically strike everything.
Yeah. They are better than they were. But that doesn't mean they're good.
I feel like somewhere along the line with someone, I think a creator has actually said, come on then, let's do it. Let's go to court over fair usage. And they've had to back off, and they're like, hang on a minute. This could go badly, because they know that they're breaking all of the legal rules on what fair use actually is. I mean, yeah, 90% of the channels you will see using F1 footage are not abiding by fair use rules. They are just stealing it. But for the few that are doing it correctly, someone's taken them all the way, and they've had to back down because they knew they'd lose.
The thing is, it's
the only logical explanation.
It's not actually that complicated to work out what you
it's
can
not.
and can't do. So, for example,
Yeah,
and
it's super simple.
I'm not having a go at any creator who uses footage. If you do, that's your choice. That's fine. I could probably get away with using little clips here and there in news videos. I just use the team B-roll because it just saves so much hassle. You're not risking anything. I use photos. I've got the XPB deal. It just makes sense to me. But I know there are a lot of channels out there who, for example, use it to review things or to do news, but they use F1 footage in their branding. So they'll have like a title sequence which uses F1 footage, which means, unfortunately, you're using that for commercial purposes, which means you are in the wrong. If you just used it as clips, as highlights, or reviewing, or not even highlights, but reviewing certain things or incidents or accidents, that's generally
transformative.
Not always, but generally does fall into fair use or fair dealing in the UK. Whereas use it, because I knew this anyway, but Dan, he used. Do you remember he used to have a title sequence at the start of his videos? And he used to use F1, not from races, but actual Team B-roll, and he still got done for that because he was commercialising their product, which he wasn't allowed to do. And he showed me the emails. So the FOM are completely right in some cases. In fact, probably most cases, but some. I mean, remember when they took the streams down that time, and I was using manual live timing that we had somebody updating manually, and photos from XPB that I had permission to use, and they still took the stream down. That was BS. So, but yeah.
Yeah, it is a really simple system as long as everyone involved actually obeys the rules, both on what they do in terms of using it and what they do in terms of claiming against it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that doesn't happen.
Yeah. And I do know who... Yeah, I do know who challenged them, as Two Left Feet has said in chat, because I was talking to Will about it a few months ago. But yeah, we're not going to naming names, but yeah, people will know. So Gerard says that super chat coffee ... Are you suggest I've just checked it out. There isn't anything on there to say you sent one. If you did, sorry mate, it hasn't shown up yet. But if you're just, because later on, Dave the Fish says buy me a coffee. I have page integration now for your stream, so maybe they're letting me know those two things. So yeah, but yeah, I don't think actually. If you are going to start a YouTube channel and you want to start using FOM footage, if you go to their website, what you can and can't do is listed in pretty clear black and white. Chaz used to get absolutely done all the time by copyright. I used to wake up most mornings with a message. They've struck me again. And I'm like, oh God, I've just woken up.
They will stop showing half the race.
Yes,
it's all there. Cat, but Cat was being a meanie. So yeah, Cat's been moved.
Also, hey Purple Zebra, hope you're well. You might have been here recently, but I've not seen you for a while, so I hope you're doing all right, having a good Friday, enjoying testing. I don't think he's stopped. I think Chaz is still going, isn't he? Mm-hmm. I think, yeah. No, he's not stopped, RC. Yeah, he's still going. Not heard from him for a long time. Yeah. But, yeah. Anyway, Piastri 156 laps and 3 race simulations according to Neelish today. He's back in the garage now, so probably going to go to bed. 22 minutes to go. But yeah, I missed the Chamber, Dan Johnsy, Sean predictions. Throw a Hazel in there too. That time I spat my drink all over my computer because you lot made me laugh. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot.
I like referring back to the last one we did, because there was the question of who will the F2 champ get the seat. Everyone said Pierre would get the seat, and I said no, he won't, because Piastri's better. God, that turned out.
Yeah, you were wrong.
It's one of the most right things I've got.
Purple Zebra says, hi Sean. No, I've been really busy. Really been paying been paying attention to testing this year. This afternoon is my first time. There you go. Well, update for you. It's very testing at the moment, and you'll know what I mean by that, where little things are happening every now and again, but largely it's just speculation because the teams are all playing mind games and whatnot. So yeah, but I think next week will be a bit more interesting. Plus we've got to do 8 hours a day, so we might need you that week, Purple Zebra. We might need you. We'll need all your questions for everybody next week, plus the wheel, I think. And if you think this all sounds a bit delirious now after 2 short days of testing, I will enjoy next Friday. We won't really know till Barcelona in quote marks. Yeah, that's what we say every year. But there is Barcelona this year, isn't there? In fact, I think Barcelona's is it staying? Yes, because you got the Spanish Grand Prix at Madrid at the Mad Ring, which they still haven't renamed.
Oh, it's
and I believe it's the bar. Hang on, let me check. It is on my list of races for this year. They've renamed it
Grand Prix de Catalunya or Grand Prix de Barcelona or something like that.
It's the Grand Prix de Barcelona Catalunya, which is a bit of a mouthful, but at least it's not Emilia Romagna Grand Prix made in Italy or whatever it was a few years ago. That's something. But yeah, we have got 2 Spain races this year.
Hang on, what was the full title? I can't remember the sponsor.
Who are you thinking of?
For Imola.
It's 2025. It was like wasn't it?
The Grand Premio Emilia Romagna del Made in Italy something. There's about 30 letters in the bloody name.
It was a bit bonkers.
You mentioned the Mad Ring. Don't know if anyone watches Sam Roberts, Mr. V, did a breakdown of the track. It's very interesting that from the start line, even before turn 1, it doesn't meet the FIA's requirements for a legal track. Like, immediately.
Just quickly, before we get into that, Isack Hadjar pulling into the Mercedes pit box there rather than the Red Bull one, which, just to let you know, Purple Zebra is about as exciting as it's got today. It's been a very productive day for everybody, so yeah. Oh, don't send me photos of the dog sat downstairs listening to me. It makes me sad. Where is he? I'm upstairs, leave me alone.
Thank you, Yuri. That was it. The full official title is Navi Pants has got. MSC Cruises, that was it. Utterly ridiculous.
MSC Cruises.
Yeah.
Thank you, by the way, to Dave the Fish, who sent some money over on Buy Me a Coffee, says waffle money for testing. Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate your support and your continued support, actually. You've not that want us to make us all sound old, but you've been around a while, so thank you, mate. I really do appreciate that. Very, very generous of you. So thank you to everyone who sent super chats and even just likes and subs help at this stage in the channel's life. I couldn't believe how excited I was to hit 1,000 subscribers, but I was trying to explain to somebody yesterday, it's not... Yes, the F1 word's 130,000. That's amazing, but it's a fully independent channel again. This is my channel. It's 1,000 subs, and it just makes it viable as a thing now. So it makes me happy. So that's why I was quite giddy about it. But Mad Ring, you're not a fan then, John T?
Well, it has all the possibility to produce some chaos, just like Baku, just like Monaco, just like Jeddah. But it's not legal. It's quite amusing with the videos that Samuels has done. I think there's about 3 or 4 tracks on the calendar that are actually legal.
So you're expecting tweaks then?
No, that's how it is. They just say, yeah, it's fine. Even though it goes against their own regulations. Because there are set things that the track has to have. Like, it has to be, the track has to be a set width between the white lines at all times. You know, a minimum width, sorry. There has to be a minimum distance from the start line to turn 1. All things like this. And they just don't. It's got a very narrow section that's 8.5 meters wide, which is the same as going through going into the castle at Baku. The tracks are supposed to be 11 meters wide. Minimum. It has all the possibility to be absolute chaos. Because the narrow part's sort of between 2 quite high walls, so they won't be able to recover cars if there's a pile up there.
I did just see somebody in chat say that it's... what was the line? Let's see if I find it. It was, imagine willingly custom making a racetrack just to make it worse than Barcelona for some reason, says Neelish.
Yeah.
It's a good point. It's a very good point. The only thing I've seen of Mad Ring properly, they did a virtual onboard lap, and the guy doing the virtual onboard lap, I think, crashed at one of the corners but kept going. So I mean, that tells you all you need to know. But I am still not convinced, and I suspect you might agree, actually, John T. Actually, I don't think we've had this conversation for a while, but I'm still not convinced that Jeddah was legal for its first year.
No,
I'm adamant it wasn't. But of course, we'll be having 2 Saudi Arabia Grand Prix soon.
Well, no, it wasn't. It definitely wasn't in the procedures for one thing, because any track, including a street circuit, has to be signed off as inspected and okay 90 days before the start of the first session.
Yeah,
I believe, and they signed off Jeddah, I think, about 48 hours, maybe 24 hours before practice. Like, they were still building some bits of it when the teams had arrived.
Just super quickly, a shout out to Alad in chat, who says, dropping by for once while you're actually live to say thanks. I've watched most of your stuff since testing 2019. Just usually have to catch up on streams after. No problem, mate. Thank you for popping along, and I hope you're having a good one and enjoy listening to these later. And like I say, you've got 8 hours of streams each day next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to enjoy, so that should keep you occupied. So appreciate your support, mate. Thank you very much. Sad Mariners fan says, and then the missiles happened. Bonkers.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, RC say, didn't they have a drain cover that came off? That's happened quite a few times. First one I can remember, actually, was Malaysia. In a random drain at the side of the track that ripped through Grosjean's wheel.
Possibly Malaysia,
we saw Grosjean in the... Yeah, we saw Grosjean in the wall. Everyone, oh God, he's doing it again. Then they showed the replay, and we're like, oh, actually, that one's maybe not his fault.
Was that the fast corners?
Yeah.
You've got the left and then right, haven't you? And the drain cover there, I seem to recall, on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it shredded his rear wheel and just speared him off. It's happened in Monaco twice? Or once. It happened to Button. Then it happened to Bottas in Baku. Was it Bottas or was it Russell? No, it was Russell, wasn't it?
Baku was Russell in the Williams, yeah. That horrible gradient Williams.
And Sainz in Vegas. Yeah, because it's a difficult thing to get them to stay down. Most of them are made of cast iron. Cast iron is not a very easy thing to weld, especially out in the open. There are easier ways to secure them, but they probably don't think about
that. I saw some... So... Yori says, I don't think there are rules about missiles, which is probably true, but also sounds like there should be. I feel like there should be, if a missile hits the track, we leave, as opposed to, well, we can't call the race off because there are no mechanisms in the regulations to allow it. You'll just have to drive around it, like something out of Mario Kart. But yeah, it feels like there should be. And Neelish, I can never pronounce it. Anybody who knows, please tell me in chat. But is it Qiddiya? The new track is Saudi, because they have that huge artificial elevation rise, or for it to just be a boring hairpin and then go straight back down. I was just going to say, people keep saying this new track is going to replace Jeddah. I'm so certain that Qiddiya, or whatever it's called, is going to be the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and Jeddah will stay as the Jeddah Grand Prix, because Saudi Arabia can pay for both, and F1 are not going to say no to that. So we'll get 2 races there. Then Bahrain will want 2, one around the outer loop and one around the normal track. Then Qatar will want 2. Then Abu Dhabi will want 2, and then half a season will be in the Middle East, where they can barely fill a grandstand in some cases. But
they bring back the Bahrain outer circuit. I've got no problem with that.
That was
fantastic. Yeah, it was fun because everyone was just flat out the entire time. It was awesome. But no, Qiddiya is definitely happening as far as we know. I do have a friend that lives in Dubai, and she works for a furniture company, and she's involved in the whole project, because it's not just the track. There's a whole theme park and hotels everywhere and business complex and all that stuff. So I might even be able to get some sneaky... I'll bug her for some sneaky photos.
Oh, we have action, John T.
That'd be fun.
Huge action. Lewis Hamilton stopped on track just before turn 8, which will inevitably bring out a red flag. How dramatic. And we've got the nice hazard lights on there as well. So we have a red flag. Lewis Hamilton has stopped on track at turn 8. The timing hasn't updated as of yet. So that will do shortly. So we have a stoppage with those fancy hazard lights. Did you, I don't know if you're on the stream when I asked about it, Jonty, but Ted in his notebook yesterday said that why can't we have the hazard lights either flashing or at least on when a driver is using boost mode in the race, so we know they're using boost mode. Do you think that's a stupid idea? Because Andy Cowell gave him a look that made him think he was stupid, but I think actually it's not a bad idea. I actually defended Ted on that one. We have flashing for harvesting, don't we? We have flashing for harvesting, so why can't we have flashing for more power?
Yeah, and it doesn't even need to flash, it just needs to go a different colour.
Yeah, green. Just be a static green colour or something.
Oh, no, purple.
Purple's cool. That's for Formula E, though.
Purple means going fast.
Well, yeah, true. That's true.
Formula E's pink.
Is it pink? I'd say purple, but then I like to argue, so...
But then you get the thing, if it's on those wing mirrors, could it lead to dodgy defending?
Maybe that's true, yeah.
Because if a defending driver's looking in the mirror, sees the light go, then they move over. That could be a mess.
There's also the argument that do you tactically want your rival ahead, knowing you're about to, you're about to try a move, but then at the same time, let's get rid of the harvesting light. Then, no, I mean that's not a serious comment, but
yeah, I mean that's done as a safety thing, but I don't think it's that much of a safety issue because the speed differential when harvesting isn't that huge. Quite honest,
I'm just watching Hamilton now.
It wouldn't cause a colossal accident.
Yeah,
but there are things like that. I mean, Granny's saying it does give away what they're doing, give away the strategy, and there are some parts of that I wish that they could get rid of to make it more interesting for the strategy battles between the teams. Get rid of the markings on the tires. Just black tyres with the Pirelli logo.
Yeah.
All the same colour. Yes, it would suck that we don't know what they're on. But it would be really interesting if the teams don't know what they're on.
We never used to, did we? We never used to get told whether it was a hard or a soft compound. Only if commentary said that we believe they're on the hard compound or whatever. There wasn't any marking to say otherwise. So, looking at the Ferrari there, would you like me to go over to the doodle board and do some drawing on a Ferrari?
I thought that the only thing that's bothering me about those orange hazards is when the car's going slowly with those on, I keep expecting to see a guy in a high vis vest just dropping a line of cones behind it.
Yes. We've got 8 minutes left in the session. We're under red flag at the moment. They've got the car out of the way, so I assume we're going to go racing again pretty soon. So I'll put the green flag back on, but I imagine we are going to go. In fact, it has just gone. Oh no, the timing's not complete. It's testing. The timing isn't always totally accurate in testing because bugs in the system. I'm
looking at the aerial shot now, Lewis. Sorry, do not enter a box junction unless your exit is clear. You can't stop there.
Not as good as that. Council repainting the school keep clear lines outside of a school that's been closed for years. Anyway, doodle board. We're going to the doodle board screen. There we go. Ferrari have bought a new front wing this week to Bahrain. Though your top one is the one they used in Fiorano testing, and the bottom one is a new one. I've just realised, Jonty, they won't be able to hear you, so because I haven't put your audio on here. So what I'll do is I'll do me doodling and then I'll come over to you and you can say what you want to say. I just wanted to point this out because I think it's interesting, but it's not thrilling. So it's quite a subtle update to the front wing. So if you look at the top one now, which is their old front wing, let's call it that, you can see, and I'll do it in green, you can sort of see how it dips down in the middle quite a bit, both on the bottom part there, but also on the main plane. It drops down quite a bit in the middle, whereas on the new one, it's a heck of a lot flatter, which is sort of in line with what a lot of other teams are doing. So that was one thing that was spotted, which was quite interesting. The other thing that I was having a look at, and I might be reading something into nothing here, so apologies, but this here, on the original picture here, it sort of drops down a bit here in like a step and then goes to there, whereas the end fence here sort of curves a bit more neatly. So whether that's just the angle that's making that look different, I don't know, but that could be an update there. I probably should have had a read of some technical analysis before I picked that one out, but I thought, you'll tell me in chat if I'm right or wrong on that one, and then we'll use a nice yellow. Why not? I do like a nice yellow. But you can also see on that main plane there, the top element, let's say, it's a lot thicker and doesn't drop down as much in the middle as... Is droop a word? I suppose droop is a word we could use in the middle as much as it does on the old wing there. So it's definitely a little bit of... It's not a major updates, but it's still a B-spec wing, which is an interesting point on the Ferrari. I know there was some stuff on the floor that might have been picked out by some people, but I haven't got the pictures for that. But there are definitely... I mean, even just without the lines on there, you could do a side-by-side. You can see the difference, particularly in the middle here compared to here. It's definitely flatter and doesn't drop down as much. So that's just worth pointing out for you on there. And there is actually a side picture I've got, which does show quite clearly how much flatter that wing is compared to what it was at Fiorano. So that also, actually, I've just realised that picture I've got there also shows the active aero in effect, because this bit here, they have dropped down there. So that's a nice flat T-tray. But yeah, just something, it's not much. We had a proper look at the Audi the other day, but I still thought it was worth having a little look at the Ferrari updates there for those who are interested. And I will always make this point, as you know, I am not all that great with the technical stuff, but I've decided now that I'm fully independent again on this channel. I'm going to try over the course of this season and learn some things. I think it's about time. It has only been 9 years this July, so probably ought to start trying to learn some technical stuff on the channel. But those were the Ferrari bits I picked out, just so you know. It might be something that we see change race by race, but that is definitely different to the front wing we saw at Fiorano. What will be about 3-4 weeks ago now? Been quite a while since the car started launching. So apparently the inner plate has adjusted as well. Direct air to the new brake air intakes. Yeah, that was the thing about the floor. There's something, they're going out now, aren't they? And then it reacts with the floor. And Stuart said to me the other week, he's fully expecting that as this season goes on, they've tried to stop all the dirty air and the outwash. But he fully expects that teams are soon going to find a way to do that again. So I just thought I'd point that out for you. Jaunty. I did some drawing. We can have fun with that in the test histories next week.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that's just both a high and a low downforce wing being tested.
Could be. It's why I don't call them upgrades. It's updates, isn't it? I don't like calling things upgrades because upgrades imply that they work. So I prefer
it could
updates.
just be a different one being tested. They will have... Where they've even got even more scope for very different looking front wings now, depending on high or low downforce circuits. And they all need testing. And no matter what people say, if it's just a shakedown or a filming day, they're absolutely getting tons of data from those, even though they're not meant to.
Of course they are. Otherwise, you'd just do your filming day with last year's car in this year's livery, wouldn't you? Why waste the money?
But with regard to the outwash, they are all working towards that all the time. There's very little that regulations are going to be able to mandate on that.
Sorry, Johnsy. I always feel rude when I do that, but just to cut to the live here, an Audi has stopped, a Cadillac, has stopped at the end of the pit lane. Now it's got going. Hadjar was sat behind it, couldn't get round of it. Was sort of signalling for someone to push it out of the way. So the session is go again with 1:55 to go. So I imagine they're going to go around, do a couple of installs, and then probably, maybe if you're lucky, some practice starts. Not that we ever get to see them these days. They cut the feed off at 4 o'clock because of reasons. It's just, that's something very quickly. Sean's moan corner again. Sean's crying corner. It really bugs me when I'm watching Ted's notebook and he'll say, "Oh right, I'm out of time." Why? You have a dedicated F1 channel. If you need to overrun, just overrun.
Yes.
Surely it doesn't matter. I know they've got time constraints, but I'd rather watch an extra 10 minutes of Ted than have to watch a bit that they did from 5 years ago in Silverstone with lawnmowers. Do you know what I mean? I don't need a repeat of that. Just stick with Ted. But there you go. I get it, scheduling, but
Here's John do the broken record again. ITV4 British touring car coverage. It's the gold standard of all motorsport coverage. Because they go on at 9 a.m. and they show everything until the end of the day. All support races, any warm-up sessions, walking around the pits between sessions, talking to drivers, talking to fans. It literally just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Apart from adverts between sessions. It's fantastic.
That's what I thought Sky Sports
Why
F1 was
F1
going to
doesn't
be.
do that, I don't know. Yeah. It's literally a dedicated channel for it. They're doing it on a bloody normal channel.
Oh, we're getting practice starts, John T. That's exciting. And a flashy hazards on Antonelli. He's pulled over.
Yeah.
He's off to the shop. He's He's double parked. Sorry. So he's going to run in and get a bottle of Coke or something. I don't know. Is it Coke at McLaren? Coca-Cola? I think it is, isn't it? It used to be. I don't know if it still is, but Red Bull for Red Bull.
This is another potential issue with what they're having to do for starts.
Yeah.
That's been seen during these practices, getting the revs really high, much higher than usual, and for a longer time. There's lots and lots of issues. There's been some reports I've seen suggesting that sort of 1 in 20 practice starts has been fluffed.
Yep.
Which doesn't sound like a lot
on the grid.
But statistically, that means someone will fluff it every single race. If that's someone at the front, that's a plane crash.
Are those hazard lights going to flash at every start, or is that just because they're doing them while the track is, well, not live, but you know what I mean? Well, I hope not, because that looked really messy. But I did actually have an article from the race, which I'm not going to have time to go over now, that I was going to pop up and have a read of. But it was basically talk about a rules change coming in before the start of the season, or at some point soon, because of the safety concerns around starts and it sort of explains every step they've got to take and why it's really hard to get a start right. And they're concerned because we saw some big accidents in F2 and F3 in recent years in particular, haven't we, where someone's not got off the line and someone's seen them late and slammed into the back of them, and that's so dangerous for mechanics, for drivers, for everybody. So you can understand why they need to look at that. Apparently Ferrari blocked that change initially, so maybe they've got something on their start procedure that gives them a slight advantage, which would be worth keeping an eye on. But yeah, we might do that next week. I'm sure we can come back to that. But the session is over, so I'll run through the
F2's
times.
had quite a lot of that.
Yeah. Well,
still using the same engine in the 9th year.
We could have the Mecha Crate.
It's not a problem.
Yeah. We could have a look at the race article if we get time in a second, but I want to run through the times for anybody that drops in at sort of 4 o'clock to check them. You good for a yellow flag? Let's have a look there. So timing. Session is over. Testing is over for this week, actually, of course. So with testing over in Bahrain week 1, testing, of course, back next Wednesday. Kimi Antonelli has topped the timesheets on the final day with a 1:33.669. He just did the afternoon session. 49 laps, not bad considering he missed the first 90 minutes or so, sat in the garage for reasons we don't yet know. George Russell this morning did a 1:33.9. He was second fastest on the day, 78 laps overall for him, about a quarter of a second off his teammate. Lewis Hamilton was in the car all day, 138 laps for him, 1:34.2, his fastest time for Ferrari, who according to Ted Kravitz are looking good on their tyres this week, so positivity there. Oscar Piastri just kept going round and round, 1:34.549 in all day, 153 laps. Max Verstappen 1:35.3, 61 laps for him. He was in this morning. Isack Hadjar this afternoon, 53 laps in the end, as Colapinto's on the grass for some reason there on the start-finish straight. We'll see if we get a replay. 1:35.6 for Hadjar. Esteban Ocon 35.7 for him, 68 laps this afternoon. Colapinto in all day, 137 for his laps, 1:35.8 for a lap time. Bearman this morning, 1:35.9, did 70 laps. Nico Hulkenberg, 1:36.2, did 49 laps, 71 laps for Albon, 1:36.7 this afternoon. Lawson in all day for Racing Bulls, 1:36.8. 119 laps, 68 laps for Carlos Sainz this morning, 137, 186, and 137.5 for Bortoletto, 60 laps this morning. Stroll, he was in all day. Only 69 laps for Lance Stroll today, so something's going on at Aston Martin. Intrigued to see what that's going to be. 37 laps for Valtteri Bottas, 138.7. He brought out a red flag in the morning, and Sergio Perez 139.2. 62 laps for him. Lewis Hamilton also bought a red flag, stopping down at turn 8. And as I say that, the session is over, but Franco Colapinto, after his practice start, and he was on the grass a minute ago for some reason, has now stopped at the end of the start-finish race. So let's just see what happened to Colapinto. He's heading down towards to do a practice start. He's lit up the rear tyres, got it all a little bit wrong, and then goes straight on the grass. Not far from ending up in the wall there, Franco. Steady on, mate. And then, of course, after he's done his practice start, is he just doing warm-up there? He is just doing warm-up and nearly sticks it in the wall on the start-finish straight for a practice start. That's concerning. Hopefully he can iron that out before Australia, because that could be a disaster. But yeah, strange.
Just seen a Ooh!
Got it all wrong, didn't he? Franco, mate, calm down. It's testing. Very nearly. That was scruffy, but it has stopped on track now. I was just going to say, by the way, if you are disappearing, we'll stay live for a few minutes yet, but if you are disappearing, thank you so much for joining us today and for joining us this week. It's been a lot of fun. Appreciate your support. Please drop a like before you go and subscribe as well. Just a reminder, we are live from 7 a.m. every day. Well, for the testing anyway, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week, and live all day. Not even a lunch break, so you get to see me eating on stream. That'll be lovely. All week next week, so looking forward to that one. So make sure you subbed for the proper, I'm going to call it proper testing next week. This is proper testing, but we didn't get to see it all, so proper testing next week. We'll stay live for a bit yet. We've got a few bits to talk about, but anything on that Colapinto thing, or do you want me to have a look at this race article, John T, and we can discuss that a bit further?
I'm struggling to work out what he did. I can't work out whether he spun the wheels up too much and lost it, or didn't spin them enough and it gripped too much, so he then shoved him off to the side. It looked really weird.
Yeah, nearly a silly, unnecessary accident, really, wasn't it? But, yeah.
Imagine 8 drivers do that on formation lap of the first race. That would be comedy.
That'd be quite funny. That would be quite funny. Well, it would not for them or their fans, but it would be quite funny. Very quickly, actually, just before... I do that. I'll just let you know the tyres. Everybody in the top 11 set their fastest time on the C3, which is the softest compound available this week. That is the red mark tyre on the timing screens, because they're all wrong this week, because F1 have got their numbers mixed up, I think, somewhere. So everyone in the top 11 was on the C3, so nothing really surprising there. And then I'll just wait for because Sky likes all the official feed gives me all the graphic at the end with the tyres. So, we've been doing these for years. See you later, Annette. Take care. Have a good one. We've been doing these for years, but I've never really been able to find a reliable source of who did what on what tyre. C3 for Lawson, C3 for Perez, Bortoletto, Stroll, Bottas and Sainz on the C2, by the way. So, there we go. Yeah, so this start thing. So, I'm sort of reading bits from the race here, so shout out to them, of course. I have not got this information myself. But the perfect launch apparently now involves ticking off a host of competing demands, which includes keeping the turbo spooled up for around 10 seconds to minimise turbo lag for the getaway, while also avoiding overcharging the battery. Gabriel Bortoletto described it as, oh man, it's complicated. Yeah, the 10-second thing, and then after 5 seconds, I already lost the count. The engine's revving up, it's gear in and out, and you need to release the clutch. It's quite a mess. It was much easier last year. Let's see how we end up in Melbourne. So the safety issue is, as Jonty said, the fear that people are going to be slow off the line and fumbling their starts. And this effectively means the likelihood of at least one car hitting trouble at every race is high. So questions have been raised whether there is going to be enough time for drivers to be able to spool up their turbos before the start sequence gets going. This could be a particular problem for drivers at the back of the grid who normally have very little time, that's a good point, between forming up and the light sequence being triggered. So multiple drivers and senior team figures have told the race that they think the matter needs bringing up with the FIA to discuss whether or not changes need to be made to help minimise any risks at race starts. The first opportunity could be the F1 Commission meeting on Wednesday. That's next week, isn't it? Yeah. And any discussion with the FIA over the matter are likely to revolve around whether or not potential changes can be made to the start sequence to help avoid the risk of drivers hitting problems. The two options that appear to be on the table are to delay the minimum time between when the final car forms up on the grid and the light sequence starts. And another option is to help give drivers enough time to prepare their turbos to impose a minimum time between the final car getting into position and the lights coming on, which is sort of the same thing, I suppose. So, I mean, there is enough time between now and the start of the season, isn't there, Jonty, to be able to say, right, well, we'll give you this amount of time before the light sequence starts. But it's a little bit frustrating again, and I guess it's only because they've really started practice starts now that we're having this conversation now, and this wasn't something that perhaps could have been foreseen, because when these regulations were announced, surely somebody somewhere knew that the start sequence would therefore have to change to accommodate the starts.
You would think.
It's just very strange that that's happening. They're having a conversation now rather than 3 months ago. But I suppose, again, once you start getting into testing and actually trying things out, maybe it's different to the simulator. I don't know. But does that mean there's a potential here then that we're going to have all the cars line up the grid, then we have to wait 10 seconds before the lights come on? Is that sort of what looks like the easiest solution at this point, so they can get the turbo spooled up and everything in place, the last car on the grid?
But then that's going into other problems because
cooling brakes, cooling tyres.
Yeah, last season we were pretty much every race it was getting worse and worse and worse with how much drivers at the back were taking the piss. Where you had the cars on the front row were sat there for 35, 40 seconds just waiting for them because they were all strung out. You had like pole position just coming onto the grid when there was cars still at like turn 5 in Brazil, which is a bit ridiculous. What Needles Balloon says that need to outlaw deployment. That was one of the suggestions made to combat this, to let them use the deployment off the start so it gets rid of the turbo lag issue, or at least minimises it.
Are they not allowed to use the deployment off the line?
Not below 50 Ks.
They used to use KERS off the line, didn't they? Back in day.
If they could charge enough on the formation lap.
Yeah. I was going to say, is the answer cutting down how long it takes the grid to form? But they've been trying to do that for decades.
Yeah, and it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
Like last year was the worst I've ever seen it. It was getting absolutely stupid. And like you say, it gets to cold brakes, cold tyres, which is then compounding the problems.
I'm not really...
Whatever happens, whichever way it all goes, we are in for some excitement in Melbourne. Make no mistake about that.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's still
whether
learning.
It's good
lots of
excitement
mistakes.
Whether it's good excitement, bad excitement, it's going to be something to see, that's for sure.
Strange, isn't it? Again, quite late on to be having the conversation, but much easier to, for example, set a minimum start light procedure time than, for example, ask Mercedes to go off and develop a whole new engine. So it's a little bit easier than that, but still a bit frustrated that we're at this point and we still haven't got everything defined. But I guess, is there an argument that all the governing body they're still learning these rules as well to a point, aren't they? We're seeing them in action. I mean, they've got data and simulations, but seeing these cars actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, it's new to them as well. But I'm not going to defend the FIA. You know me better than that, Jonty. But
I mean, I'm probably going to annoy some people in chat with this, but with regards to tyre warming, there's already a very simple solution being used in a different series.
No blankets.
Just get them all onto the grid. 2 spaces back. everyone gets to do a burnout, which is exactly what Formula E does. There you go. That's the tyre heating problem solved.
No comment.
Removes one of the problems, and then that way you could give a very strict delta between cars on the formation lap, so that you haven't got someone just hanging 15, 20, 25 car lengths back.
Yeah.
And yeah, Mrs. DZ is quite right as well. Getting all the fluids warmed up in the engine is another big problem. But I feel like they could do a lot of that before setting off from the grid. Maybe if they change that start procedure so that it has to be engine at least idling for 60 seconds before the green light for the formation lap. I don't spitballing here.
Trying to work out how they can sort of change these regulations in a way that's going to work for everybody in that first race, because this isn't a one team that's done something different and is causing problems. This is the whole grid are concerned about this. So,
but again, it's still speculation because we still don't know if it's actually going to go wrong.
Yeah,
we could get there and it could be fine, or we could get there and there could be 12 cars piled up on the pole position spot. Who knows?
It's whether they want to take that risk, is it? Do they want to risk it and say, let's just see how it goes? Or do they want to just take some action now just to avoid ending up in court because someone smashed their legs to pieces or whatever? Tricky.
I mean, you could end up with a Belgium 1998 scenario and without even getting to a corner. What was the really, really bad one that happened? Was it Brands Hatch 84, 5? Where there was a huge pile up at the start because someone stalled.
I mean, there is an easy on paper but expensive way to resolve the issue, and a way to make these cars more fun to drive and more pro racing rather than anti-racing, as Max Verstappen put it. But I'll leave you all on 10 hooks and you can work that out for yourself, what that could be. But you know, there's a podcast that carries its name, so just saying. No, I'm just being a dick. But yeah, Britain says formation lap is a key word. It can't be formation with a strung out, staggering string of stragglers. That's a mouthful, mate. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
Bonus points for the alliteration.
Yeah, you did mention Miss CZ, so there we go. Britain also says it's always been part of the sport, trying to freeze out the front row, but there should be more stringent limits to this particular strategy. I saw Neelish, we did just talk about this briefly. He says, can we speculate why they banned the deploy below 50 kilometers an hour in the first place? Sort of touched on that, didn't we? I don't know what the reason was for stopping that.
Well, I think you mentioned it yourself. Yeah, there could be some element of traction control that they managed to figure out in the software. There could be all sorts of things. Unfortunately, there's not enough detailed information we get about that kind of thing.
I think I saw someone saying that it was brought up in the summer, but the red team said no to change anything. Yeah, the Ferrari vetoed any change.
Yeah, they do that.
It's what they do. Yeah. Which just leaves me suspicious that they found something for starts.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't veto that unless you've got an advantage from it. Or you've nailed it and others haven't, or something like that. You know, it's really weird. I did see somebody ask again, by the way, about the Mercedes power unit, is anything going to happen thing. I'll just go get my thing from Ted yesterday. So Ted, in his notebook on day 2, said the FIA doesn't look like they will get involved in, quote, anything controversial, and so it is expected they will say the Mercedes engine is legal and the way the rules are written won't change this year, but they could for next season. So as Jonty said yesterday, as an example, think of DAS. It's legal for this year, but from next year it might not be. So that's where the change is going to come. It is highly unlikely, according to Ted Kravitz, that they're going to make such a substantial change 3 weeks before the start of the season, leave Mercedes hung out to dry there. Bearing in mind, the FIA, every step of the way, have told Mercedes that engine is legal and fine. You can't do that and then change the rules 3 weeks before the season. So, again, not getting into the rant, but it's up to other teams to rise to that challenge and develop it themselves, or they should have thought about it in the first place rather than crying to the FIA. The rules were the same for everybody. So, also, I forgot to say this yesterday, Hamilton's new engineer, by the way, will not be in place for this test or the next test. I mean, he certainly won't be in place for this test because he's not there and it's over, but he won't be there for the next test either. So we still don't know whether the rumours about Grosjean, not Roman, are going to be his engineer are true, or whether there's something else going on. So just thought I'd mention that very quickly for those who asked in chat earlier. Yes, let's do 10 minutes of Q&A. Save your juicy stuff for next week, but throw stuff at us now and we'll answer them as quickly as we can. I say 10 minutes, fully prepared to still be here at 5 o'clock. It's what we do, but we'll try our best to stay to 10 minutes. Has any team said that it will take 10 seconds to get the turbos right, given the tech for two-step in drag racing is well known and takes a couple of seconds to get ready? I think they have that. That's the point the race was making. They've been told that that's how long it will take. But I'll ask you the question to chat, but I'll also ask you, Jonty, is that something that, as these rules become more refined and the teams get used to them, could that come down that time? Is that something that will come down naturally, or?
Yeah, and I think I do think there's possibly a bit of exaggeration there as well. I mean, turbo lag is, a key, just something that happens with turbos. But 10 seconds to get it up to an acceptable level, I mean, that seems like a very long time. Some of the worst turbo lag cars there has ever been didn't take that long. I mean, the XG220 was particularly bad with the twin turbo V6 that replaced the V12, and that was only about 5 or 6 seconds for it to properly kick in. Admittedly, until it kicked in, nothing happened. But then when it did, you crashed.
Yeah.
I can't see something this advanced being that severe. They're like F1 teams do. They probably exaggerate, make it sound worse.
Worst case scenario.
Throw other teams off. Yeah.
Yeah. Two Left Feet says, is changing the way you measure something changing the rules? Yeah, I'd say so, because the Mercedes have what Mercedes have done is they've been told it will be measured in cold or cool static conditions, so effectively in the garage, and that's the rule they have to adhere to. That's the test. Same with the flexing rear wings that Jonty brought up yesterday. That's the rule they have to adhere to. So if they're doing 118 on the track, that's not irrelevant because people are annoyed about it, but it's irrelevant from a regulation point of view because the test is for 116 in the garage when it's cool. So if that's the regulation that they've worked to and everyone else has worked to, that is, changing the way you test something is change or measure something is changing the regulations. So I suppose they've done it with real. They could, I suppose, put a technical directive out later in the season that says this is how we're going to do it now if they think it's giving Mercedes too much of an advantage. But again, Audi, Honda, Ferrari, they should have either employed somebody who could interpret the regulations that way or read into all of it that way and do it themselves, or they're going to have to develop it themselves, although I suspect it'll be left to Mercedes, who came up with the clever idea, to have to change their car rather than... Because the thing that annoys about F1 is we've got this thing where rather than... And we had this when Mercedes were dominating, we said it when Red Bull were dominating. We have this thing where when a team is doing well, we have to drag them back rather than expecting the teams who did a crap job to do a better job. And I don't like that, because F1 to me should always be, and I hate this word but I'm going to say it, a meritocracy. So there you go. That's my view.
Yeah, Purple Zebra, the loophole legality issue is about engine compression ratios in the internal combustion engine, where the regulations state that it has to be 1:16, but it's going to be tested in this very, very strict, rigorous, cold situation in the garage, static tests, car's not moving, just turn it on, we measure it, there you go. And the suspicion is that Mercedes have found a way using thermal expanding materials or something of that nature to increase the compression ratio during a race when it's actually on track. so it can't be detected. So by the letter of the law, it's fine, because that's not when it's tested.
Allegedly Red Bull as well.
Cloak and dagger. Yeah.
It's flexi engines.
Yeah.
That's what we'll call them.
Well, I mean, it could be done by the head, the piston heads, the valve heads, anything like that. Even head gaskets, or is it a solid unit? I don't know. I've never seen one of these engines close up.
I'd like to.
It is very similar to the Toyota Turbo thing from World Rally back in the late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s maybe, where they found a way to break the rules, but you couldn't actually detect it during a test. It wasn't until someone blew the whistle on them that it got found out.
It's that's a good example of how they might be doing this, but actually it's the flexi wings is the best example of the test, because your wing can flex quite a bit on track, but so long as it passes the stress test when it gets back to the FIA, it doesn't matter what it's doing out on track. So well, within reason, obviously. If it starts flying around all over the place, it does, but
and Britain's exactly right in the chat. Throughout history, engineers have specified compression ratio to be measured at normal operating temperature. Completely accurate. Every manual, schematic, details you'll find will tell you that. So yeah, the FIA have messed up engine building 101. That's true.
They're saying there's no way to test it out on track accurately. So pinnacle of motorsport. If Mercedes don't win the title this year, will the team still push for it to change, says Stewie? Probably not. I said this in the video I did a few weeks ago. If Mercedes turn up to Australia and absolutely dominate and run away with it, and Red Bull are doing the same trick and they run away with it, and the rest of the field are left 2 laps down, they'll all protest at the end of the weekend. If Mercedes get lapped by everybody else, no one will bloody say a word, because no one will care anymore. So it's always the same, But we've had this before, and I know it's a lot more complicated to, or I assume it's a lot more complicated to run your engine at 118 compression ratio if you've not been doing it than it is to build a double diffuser. But we've had this before where people spend ages and ages and ages arguing over, let's go to court, let's get this banned, and then end up losing and have to build it anyway. And again, as Jonty said yesterday, Red Bull probably would have won the 2009 title if they just stopped bitching and built a double diffuser. Get on with it. Yeah. Come on.
Unfortunately, this is a bit more difficult to just go ahead and build.
I know. But they could work on it for next year. They could go, all right, fine. They've had us here. Let's work on next year's engine. Let's get it working like that. And then if the FIA don't ban it, then everyone has that same advantage, which we assume is an advantage. It might not be. It could be that they bring in some special rule magically in the next 2 weeks. Mercedes start running at 116 on track and still bloody win it all. It could just be a really good car and a very 2014. Mercedes can build very strong power units at the start of a new regulation cycle, so we shouldn't be surprised they're potentially the team to beat. But keep an eye on Red Bull. Pierre Vacher saying he thinks that they're about 4th behind Ferrari, Mercedes and McLaren, but everybody's talking about how impressive their reliability is. They're 0.6 to 1 second quicker consecutively on the straights every lap. And somewhere like Bahrain, where you can see on the track map there, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 straight modes. So that's how many straights we've got without counting between 7 and 8 and between 8 and 9. So if they're that much quicker in the straights, they could dominate certain tracks this season. But Mercedes are still the bookies' favourites, but I think Red Bull have surprised a lot of people and might surprise a few. And maybe that's the question, Jonty, then. Based on the first week of testing, who do you think is the team to beat? And who's really... I don't know, that's boring. We talk about Mercedes and that all the time. Who's really surprised you out of the teams this first 3 days? Positively. Let's be positive for a change.
Haas, without a doubt. They've been consistent. Up there. I mean, the times mean nothing, as we all know, but they are still up there. And they haven't had a lot in the way of reliability problems. They've been putting out a lot of laps over the course of the 3 days. I think Bearman's done loads yesterday, day before.
Yeah, not stopped.
Yeah. they just look like a well-oiled unit, not really getting many issues, just pumping in all the testing they can and being quiet, just going about their business.
Yeah.
Kind of just there, not really grabbing headlines for good or bad reasons. And they're probably going to surprise some people, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, Ted said yesterday he speculated that he thinks they might be top of the midfield at this stage. So, I mean, that's good. I think I've got nothing to add to what you said. I said it earlier in the stream. They, going about the business quietly, and I don't want to get into it today. It's one for next week, probably. But the job that Au Komatsu's done since he came in is phenomenal. He's got them running like you said, like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
Which they never really have been. So it's impressive. The lap count is impressive. So the Ferrari engine is reliable. The car looks nice and tidy. There's been no major drama. They've been quiet, and that's the way you go about testing. And as we've said before, usually when a team is mouthing off about how good they are, they're usually in for a shock when they get to the first race. But it's the quiet teams you have to watch because they've got no reason to speak up, so they just get on with it. So keep an eye on them. I've watching me last in Melbourne now, but
and they can pull off. Komatsu's managed to get the team working well to pull off the development throughout the season. Just look at last year. They were kind of mid-ish of the table for the first half of the season, but then towards the end of the season, Bearman was putting in stonking performances race after race. That car really picked up, and Ocon was up there as well.
They were still developing the car at Kota. When was the last time we saw that from Haas? Here we go. Right, so this is big news. Someone just said it in chat. Thank you to Neelish. Of course it was Neelish. He's always keeping an eye on these things for me. This is from therace.com. So again, shout out to them. This is not my work, so I will give them the credit. It says, Ferrari has ruled out going as far as lodging a protest over Formula One's ongoing compression ratio row. However, it does think it is essentially clear ruling is made by the FIA over the matter as soon as possible. So the short version of that is Ferrari aren't going to protest, but they want the FIA to say either way, yes, this is legal, no, it isn't. And I suspect they will just say, yes, it's legal. So is it worth reading any more in there? No offense to the race when I say that, but I don't want to just read all the blurb that we already know. Quote from team principal Fred Vasseur, love that man, says, we are not there to make a protest. We are there to have a clear regulation and to have everybody with the same understanding of the regulations, but we don't speak about protest. With the new regulations on the battery, on the engine, on the chassis, on the tyres and the sporting regs, we were going into the direction where we have grey areas. There were going to be different misunderstandings or understandings, of the regulations from team to team and sometimes from teams to the FIA. It's a direct consequence of the new regulations, and it was always like this. The most important part for me is to get clarity. Everybody can accept that we made mistakes or we didn't have the same understanding before, but what we need is to have it clear cut. That is now like this. I think it's what we can expect from next week. So expecting next week after this F1 commission thing, I assume, just to hear everything's fine. But that makes sense. I can't argue with him there. Just clarify it. The FIA could have shut all this down 6 weeks ago and just come out. They did put a statement out saying the rules haven't changed on the way that we measure it, but they could have come out and said, no, we're not doing anything, regardless of your moaning. I'd probably word it better than that if I was the FIA, but regardless of your bitching and moaning, we're not going to change anything. The Mercedes engine is legal, and then Ferrari could have gone, right, then we need to get on that for next season. And that's it. We just need that clarity. Or even, John T, I don't know how you feel about it, but even just clarity that, like we said with Das, it's legal now, it won't be next season. Just let people know so that we can move on from what is ultimately probably going to end up being, and this might shock a few people, as tends to be the case in F1, a storm in a teacup.
Yeah.
He says sat in Mercedes gear again.
I've got my little suspicion cogs ticking over in my brain.
Of course.
And that from Ferrari, do you know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like, okay, when all these rumours first started, we went and looked into what they'd done to see if it was possible, and we've managed to do it ourselves.
Yeah, good point, yeah.
But we're not going to tell anyone that. We're just going to not protest because no, we totally haven't worked out how to do that ourselves and are now doing it, and it's now all fine. You know what I mean?
I do.
That's totally a thing that Ferrari would do.
That's the first time I read those quotes and have time to read between the lines, so I'm glad you're here. That's a very good point. Counterpoint, it's either they've managed to do it themselves or the information they have is that it's making no difference or very little difference that can't be solved elsewhere or picked up elsewhere. So that's not Ferrari going, oh no, it's all's fair in love and war. It's just competition. It's what we do. They definitely know something either way, don't they? I love that team. I am a Ferrari fan despite Mercedes gear. I keep saying it.
I wonder if we could do that. Oh, look, we can. Brilliant.
Yeah.
6 weeks just to make some new pistons, new valves.
It's true. Yeah, I could just imagine them sat in an office going, we need to protest. We're going to veto everything. We're not happy about this. Boss, we've solved it. Oh, we don't need to protest. It's all fine. Everything's okay. Sean doing his Monty Python voice. What's the Monty Python voice? Somebody said this yesterday. Might have been you, Kevin. Is it the nasal one? Is it that one? That's my Jeremy Clarkson one. Power. I can't help thinking someone needs to say to Audi the famous thing Ron Dennis said to Eddie Jordan, welcome to the Piranha Club, says Chris Maxwell. Great quote as well. Oh, the crying one. I love the crying one. It's never aimed at anyone directly, but it's let's say when I'm on Twitter, that's how I read most tweets because that's what most of them are. Pro tip as well for social media, and you all know this, just don't even bother looking in replies or comment sections anymore outside of YouTube and Twitch and things because it's just bots, particularly on Twitter. Blue Sky's fun. It's like old school Twitter, but
don't use
fewer people.
It's horrible.
I have to for other work bits, but I post on there just to let people know I'm live, but nobody sees them, I don't think, so I shan't be bothering for long. It's not a fun place to be. It's almost like they wanted this because they literally changed the testing regulation. How they test it is so it's like they purposely put loopholes in, says Rayman. Again, I'm not taking issue with you, of course, but I sort of take issue with the word loophole because I don't think this is a loophole. This is Mercedes following the regulations to the letter of the law. But I can't think of any other way to describe it. So loophole probably is a fair way to describe it, but it's not actually a loophole, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
And the problem with the word loophole is that it just sounds like a really, really long toilet brush.
A loophole, yeah. Do you want a random story? I'm not going to tell you who it was. It was not me. I know somebody who used to think that the toilet brush was for cleaning your back end after you use the toilet. That's a fact.
Oh my
I'm not
God.
making it up. It's a fact. It was not me. Shut up, chat. But somebody actually believed that was, rather than toilet paper, it was the alternative.
Can you imagine how much that would hurt?
Do you imagine how much that would smell when you put it back in the thing? Give it a quick rinse and pop it back in. No thanks. I don't even have a toilet brush. I refuse to have one because they stink and they're just disgusting. Just clean your toilet properly. Don't need a brush. Everyone will disagree with that because everyone loves a toilet brush. But imagine that. I mean, first of all, how do you even... How? No. How? But yeah. Fun fact. Disgusting fact.
I'm trying to figure out the ergonomics of that. That's not a comfortable angle to bend.
No. I tell you what, you'd need a good fucking compression ratio for that, wouldn't you? Jesus. Excuse the language, but it's, disgust. I hope you're all enjoying your tea and your dinner.
We've descended to that point. It's probably time to go.
It probably is time to go. Quick comments from chat and then we'll wrap it up. Let's go. The F1 season hasn't started and we're already in the toilet already, says Kevin. I don't think that would get clean, says Yori. Sighted Canvas says, did I miss everything? What a time to just tune in. Sorry, mate. Ruined your evening. Britta says, love you guys. Let's go 2026. Until next time, take care, everyone. Flying Tiger out. See you later, mate. Back next Wednesday at 7 a.m. GMT, of course. They're going to be fun because they're long days, but they're so much fun. Can't wait for day 2 of testing streams when we get Sean's impression corner. I'll work on some for you. I still can't do a Welsh accent. I start off doing a Welsh accent and then it suddenly gets very racist, and it's not intentional. I can't do a Welsh accent. Cider Canvas still hasn't quit work, by the way. Cheers, I tried to drink an espresso without any milk, says Chris Maxwell. And let's get 2 more comments. Fred, that one.
There's a question to put on the wheel. Let's see if we can get Stuart and Sean to say that really long Welsh town.
Lang, I can't. I'll give it a go, but yeah.
See if you can learn it by the end of testing.
I thought there'd be a complete unreliable slow mess, and I was speculating Max would leave over it. But now if Max leaves, it'll be more likely because he doesn't like the 26 regs than a crap car, says Neelish. Again, we said this earlier in the week, I think. Incredible how they wanted that closed shakedown because they were so embarrassed about... or they feared embarrassment over reliability, and then barely anyone broke down, and it was easy. So easily not a problem. So I don't know why we couldn't watch it in the end, but there you go. And one more. I don't think there is another one. I thought I saw one, but Alpine looked good this year compared to last year, says Perks. That's fair. Alpine looked better this year than they did last year. I agree, and I'm not being facetious, but it was also kind of hard to be any worse. If they'd been any worse, it would have been a disaster. So they look better, but there's a lot of teething issues, though. A lot of reliability teething issues, so something to watch.
Well, that'll be the thing with the potential engine issue, is if Alpine randomly turn up and are fighting for the front row, that'll probably make people take more notice than if Mercedes or McLaren do it.
Kevin says, I wonder if everyone copies Alpine's rear wing. That reminds me, I do need to try and see if I can find a way for you and Stuart, maybe using your own OBS, to screen capture, probably through Discord screen share, so you can use your own doodle boards in case you want to do any doodling next week. You could at least tell me what's a highlight. But we can figure it out, I'm sure. I'll have a Google this weekend. I like to watch YouTube things and that.
Yeah, we can just open Paint or Adobe or GIMP or something.
That's true, yeah.
Screen share that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Jonty, mate. It's been we'll finish a whole 10 minutes earlier today. I told you we'd go past 4:30, but we got chatting about toilet brushes, and that was very exciting. So, thank you for your company today and yesterday, and obviously very much looking forward to our afternoons together next week. So, but I might, at least you'll have your mornings to recover from me, but I might need your help on Friday when I've slightly lost my marbles by about 2:00. We should be okay. But appreciate it, mate, and have a good evening, and I'll talk to you, if not before, next week.
Yeah, and I will disappear straight away again because, like I said,
worries, mate.
I am starving. So bye, chat, and I'll see you all Wednesday afternoon.
Wednesday afternoon. Yeah, 12-ish. All right, mate. Yeah. Take care. Thank you again.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.
You're not getting double Sean today. I stopped that before you could. Yes, thank you very much to John T for joining me this afternoon. Thank you for yesterday as well, John T, as I say. And I've enjoyed this week. Thank you to all of you guys. It's been a lot of fun warming up for the big ones next week. So I'm going to say it again. I know you're sick of hearing it, but I'm going to do it anyway. We will be live next week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 7 a.m. until 4 p.m.-ish, assuming F1 don't take down the streams for some reason. Who knows? And I'll be live with Stuart, 8 a.m.-ish until 12 p.m.-ish. I'm going to keep saying ish. And then roughly around 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. With John T for each of those days as well. And they are the proper, fully televised tests. So there'll be proper watch-alongs. We'll be able to keep an eye on what's happening and answer your questions. We've got the wheel of questions, but save some up anyway. And we'll just make them lots of fun. Lots of interaction, lots of doodling on the doodle board, and I'm very much looking forward to spending those days with you all. Now, that is going to be it, by the way. I won't be back until Wednesday. I need to get those streams set up, and I need a weekend to do some family stuff. Woohoo. And take the dog for his haircut. So I will be back on Wednesday. There will be, based on what you guys said in chat, some sort of explainer over on the F1 word in the certainly before the first race of the season. So I'll get to that when I can, but I'll put that out on the F1 word. But I'm back here Wednesday, 7 a.m. as always. Please do drop a like before you go, and subscribe if you're new so you don't miss those streams and any future content this year. Lots to come in 2026. But as ever, Thank you for watching. I've been Formula Sean, and until next time, goodbye.